Ruben Dias, or Ruben Dias as he will be called in England, is flying the coop, and although it kills me to see yet another Academy product go out into the world to be judged by the masses, this is ultimately a move that he deserves, given his quality, even if a lot of City fans are seemingly upset about the transfer. Hi, I'm Adrian, and hopefully I can help ease those fears a bit in giving my opinion, a Benfica's opinion, on Rúben. We'll go over his strengths, his weaknesses, what he'll offer City, address the questions of why has his hype died down a bit in the last few months, as some people were asking me on Twitter. All right, let's talk about the beautiful boy. Okay, so position, center back, as you know. I've never seen him play another position. For Benfica, he typically plays as a right-sided center back in a back four, though for Portugal, he has often played on the left side. So he has experience with both and is seemingly just as strong with both. Why? Because he's fairly two-footed. One of the things that will have been so attractive to City is that he's comfortable with the ball at his feet and he can ping a pass very well. He is more than capable at both combining with his teammates who are dropping short or spraying long diagonal balls to find the fullbacks or wingers that have roved up the field, as his vision complements his passing ability quite well. It's in this area that Ruben Dias is extremely strong, and on more than a few occasions, his ability on the ball has helped spring Benfica counterattacks. He'll be a great asset to Manchester City in that regard. He is capable of starting the attack from the back. Similarly, he will venture forward with the ball at his feet now and then, when appropriate, of course, and he's not too shabby at doing so, either. He's a bona fide leader, as he is captain Benfica at such a young age. He plays with passion, he's a great communicator and organizer at the back, and he's a tough, mean bastard. Not tough or mean enough to rack up the cards. He's never had a straight red card at the senior level. That actually surprised me a bit, and I had to fact check myself there. But he's never had a red card, and only once was he sent off for a second yellow card in way over 100 appearances for club and country. Way more than 100. He's not hot-headed, but he is tough. As for his defensive ability, he's an extremely physical defender. He's strong. He's by no means the fastest player on the pitch, but he has ample pace for a center back, and he's great in the air. He wins plenty of aerial duels, meaning he'll be a threat from set pieces. He's not as free scoring as prime Sergio Ramos or anything like that, but he'll power a header home now and then from a corner or a free kick. He gets about, 2-3 goals a season, that kind of thing. He's not one to drop deep and retreat whenever Benfica would lose possession, as he would favor rushing forward towards the man with the ball or to try and cut off the man receiving the ball before he even gets it. He's good in the tackle and has no fear in getting stuck in, and his duel rate is pretty decent as well. But this is where some of his deficiencies can come into play, so let's explore those a bit. Sometimes his positioning isn't too great. He'll get caught too far up the pitch, partially because of something I'll go over later in the video in regards to the players around him at Benfica, but other times because of that penchant for trying to rush into a tackle to stop an attack before it starts. It's a double-edged sword that, if he pulls it off, he looks brilliant. But knowing when to do it and when to play position instead is something that he is developing. He's getting better at it, but in the Premier League with more quality attackers, it could take some getting used to for him. There will be mistakes. That said, it hasn't been an issue with Portugal, but again, I'll get to that later. It's all part of my thesis. He also has a penchant for committing some frustrating fouls at times. Physicality is a big part of his game, and again, that's a double-edged sword, as he is still working on being a more clever defender with his grappling, especially from set pieces, as all defenders have mastered the dark arts of grappling at set pieces without fouling. On that note of frustrating fouls, he has also been known to give away a frustrating penalty now and then. Not too often, though. It's not like he does this every month or something. In fact, last season he only gave away one penalty in the league, which is sort of surprising to me, but I could have been reading too many Rúben haters comments on Twitter, which, well, it's Twitter, so it borders on fiction. Sometimes it's just blatant fiction, So to sum it up, he can get caught out of position now and then, and since he likes to rush towards the attackers and cut down their space or try to win the ball back quickly from the first pass, he sometimes gets caught out of position, especially if that pass is over the top. That can be bad for him. He's guilty of conceding frustrating free kicks at times. He only gave away one penalty in the league, but I'm pretty sure he gave away another in another competition, but it's not anything to worry about, really. Defenders inevitably will give away penalties. It happens to even the best of them. Once he gets used to the increased physicality of the league, he'll continue to win duels. His passing will be an absolute asset. I also read from Opta that he didn't make a single error that led to a goal last season in the league. The worst that came from one of his errors was a shot, so take what you will from that. He's got pretty safe feet. He actually blocks a lot of shots as well, which is a very random stat, but I guess if you're watching this video, it's for a reason, so there you go. I've also linked to an article below where they compare the stats of Rúben to Koulibaly, Koundé, Otamendi, Stones, and Laporte, and he fared quite well. Great in the offensive involvements area, stacks up extremely well in the defensive area, but will need to improve on the physical side, mostly his aerial duels, which kind of surprised me. I thought he was decent at those. And sometimes his positioning is not great when trying to defend open spaces, which, as I said before, he rushes forward. Sometimes he doesn't need to. That sort of sums up how I feel about him. Ultimately, if City are patient, given that he is moving to a new competition, I think he'll be a great defender for them, or at least he has the potential to be a great defender for them. Why? Because, his ability going forward with the ball at his feet, his vision, his qualities as a leader, his defensive abilities, all point towards, if he develops well, he'll be a great defender for them. Kalidou Koulibaly is older than him and only developed late. Ruben Dias is 23. He could be an elite defender at some point. He's the future captain of the Portuguese national team. He's captained Benfica already. He's had great performances, certainly far more great performances than poor performances, which don't come around too often in my opinion. So I see no reason to be negative about this signing, but hey, call me biased. So Rúben was linked with almost everyone, especially in the Premier League, for the last 2-3 seasons, and his value, or at least the hype around him, has gone down just a little bit in the last 6 to 12 months. Why is that? Let's explore it. He hasn't regressed in his performances, and I do suspect that it is perhaps because of how awful Benfica was last season. Terrible in Europe as per usual, and we had an unprecedented collapse in the latter half of the season. Why? There are many reasons, from on the pitch to how our club has been run, but a large part for me is because our personnel and defense has been poor. Let me explain this further. The reason as to why I believe this is because when he is put into the Portuguese national team and he has a solid ball-winning midfielder in front of him in Danilo Pereira or William Carvalho, or a proper anchor such as Ruben Dias or whoever it may be, and as long as he's playing alongside a at least competent defender such as Pepe, an ageless wonder, he has him on one side, and then he has either João Cancelo, Rafael Guerreiro, Mario Rui, or whoever it is on his left. I can't think of a time where Rúben looked poor for the Portuguese national team. Part of that being because he doesn't have to cover for the defenders around him, which he has to do with Benfica. Now, if you compare what he has had to deal with at Benfica, especially in the last 12 months, Benfica has been dealing with a bit of a defensive emergency, in my opinion, prior to this season, where Ruben Dias was the only constant in the regards to the back line, and he had a revolving door of center-back partners in Ferro, started well, but was extremely poor last season. The eternally injured and old Jardel, sometimes Weigl would fill in at center-back. And then on the flanks, he had to deal with one of our many academy products that was being shopped around, such as Nuno Tavares, Thomas Tavares, young and extremely inexperienced, and often their performances didn't cut it. They were often thrown into Champions League matches for God knows what reason. So it's understandable that their performances didn't cut it. And then it just felt like they never really found their footing in the league as well. Or he has to defend next to Andre Almeida, who will forever have my love, but just isn't at an acceptable standard to be our starting right back. On the left, Grimaldo is incredible going forward, but at times leaves a lot to be desired defensively. Ahead of him, while Weigl has been good lately and is showing a ton of promise to be the defensive midfielder we need, that has also been a problem position for Benfica at times, especially last season, and has left the back line exposed. So you add all of that together, and it sometimes felt like Rúben was the only quality defender we had, constantly having to cover for the mistakes of his teammates in the back line. This, in some respects, can explain his infrequent lapses in positioning that force him into Hollywood tackles or drawing a stupid foul. All of the other times, they're just lapses of his own fault. He's not faultless, not at all, but he hasn't exactly been surrounded by excellent defenders either while at Benfica, and he has had to shoulder far more responsibility than can reasonably be asked of a single man, in my opinion at least. When our team is flying and he has a decent partner next to him, just as Ferro was in the 2018-19 season, just as Jardel can be sometimes, though he is very, very old now, Ruben Dias will shine, just as he does with the Portuguese national team. It's also unfortunate for him that the only time most people ever see him play is in the Champions League, where Benfica have been absolutely dreadful and continue to be dreadful, as we didn't even manage to qualify this season. That's how allergic we are to the Champions League these days. We went out against PAOK, the Greek guys, P-A-O-K. P-A not okay. But anyways, I hope that this video was enlightening for you. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it helped to calm some nerves that you may have had or some questions about Ruben Dias. Please take care of my boy. He's going to be in good company though. He'll be there with João Cancelo, Bernardo Silva, Ederson, former Benfica boys. All of them. Love to see it. All right? I'm Adrian. I love you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Ciao.